Coach, thanks so much for joining us again.
Thanks, I appreciate it.
Yeah, so let's start first by talking about last year.
Yep.
Was that run something you think the team overachieved from last year? Did you expect to get that state final?
Well, listen, we celebrate the high expectations. So to me, it was a little unexpected because we had so many new players on the field, but the kids get it. Like, we don't say, this is our year. We graduated too many kids. The new kids stepped up into their roles, and, we knew we had a high ceiling. We knew we would get better as the season went on, and that's exactly what happened. So,
yeah, I think that's, and I think you and I were talking a couple of days ago during the basketball about that first Ward game.
Yeah.
Right, because you opened the season against Ward, and you were leading that, and then you're like, well, it's cold out here. I'm going to throw my guys a little bit.
Yeah.
But how is it like, when you go into a season and you're going to open this one out?
Yeah.
How do you look at it in the beginning to the end? Do you, kind of go to phases? How do you look at this season?
Well, you got to play the long game. In June, your best players have to be available. Staying healthy is paramount, especially in baseball. There's a lot of use injuries, arm, elbows, shoulders, whatever it is. So, I pulled Kai out after 50 pitches. There was a lot of consternation. We're trying to get to June 5th, and then you go forward and we're playing, Ward again at Municipal Stadium in June, and we beat them. So that's when it mattered. That game was, we're not going to blow out arms here. We're very experienced with, big time pitchers. We have a kid in the major leagues. We have a kid in the minors. We have a bunch of kids pitching in college baseball right now. We're not going to get anybody hurt, especially when it's cold this early in the year. We're going to pitch a lot by committee. We're going to keep the innings down, and when it gets warmer, the kids will have more of an opportunity to pitch a little deeper into the 5th and 6th inning. We have the depth to do that.
Yeah, and that's a great point, right? Because it's like, we're going to start this season here in a few weeks, and everyone's going to come on. We want to win that first game.
And it'll be packed.
Yeah, and you're going to want to. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
It seems like you always do that, and so it's like I always like to set expectations. But to just talk a little bit about last year, that we mentioned Ward again. It seems like we always keep mentioning it, but that semifinal game was really, really good.
Oh, that was that was a heavyweight fight. That was another 10-inning game. It was a lot of ebbs and flows. It was, big pinch hit. Jules put down a great bunt. We got a great pinch hit from a senior who was on the bench. And, one of my assistant coaches said, listen, Reese was really locked in pregame and batting practice. And I remembered that. And then when I have to pick between 6 guys, the biggest at-bat of the game, because our assistant coaches are paying attention, boom, we put him in there and he gets the big hit.
Yeah, and talk about pregame, and I've I'm fortunate enough to get, and I always try to get there early and watch. I see with basketball, if a player's hot early on and they're hitting their shots or they're hitting in batting practice, whatever it is, you kind of it goes to the back of your mind.
Yeah, that and also the body language, like, hey, he knows he's not playing, but coach said be ready if your number's called, and you could tell who really takes that in, and that gives you the idea of who's right for which spot.
And so now let's talk. Let's just talk a little bit about the FCAC. So that game was, like I said, a pitcher's duel. I remember your interview after the game. Yeah. It was such a good game. I think Oppie went.
Yeah, he pitched 6 or 7.
And then it would come. But when you look at the FCAC and the state championship, what is the difference you saw in those two that you went through it? One you got to the final, one you kind of lost in that semi.
Yeah, I think the FCAC is more of a mini tournament. The FCAC's more the lineup's got to produce in the FCAC tournament. State tournament is more the long game. The teams with the depth and the arms, which we had, are going to be able to climb that mountain. To win 5 straight elimination games is rough, especially in baseball. I mean, you saw Trumbull won the FCAC and they lost in the first round 1-0 to New Milford, who we beat 2. So it's very hard. It's everybody in Connecticut, everybody in the United States has a baseball team. This is not a regional sport. It's the national pastime. It's baseball specifically right now in the CIAC is probably at one of its highest levels. There's Division I kids everywhere. Yeah. Trumbull's got a Division I pitcher. Norwalk's got a couple. So it's going to be real exciting and competitive and real high level baseball this year.
Yeah, and that's what makes it so great, right? Because we get to go there
fantastic.
And we watch all these games. And last thing about last season is that final against Amity.
Yeah.
You guys jumped out to an early lead, and we didn't get a chance to talk because, I don't know, they seem to schedule all the state finals at the same day.
Yeah.
So we were like, when you guys went to rugby. Yeah. So put a ribbon on that final, what you thought happened.
You know what? To be honest, and the kids say it too, I think we didn't leave it all on the field at Municipal Stadium in the semis. That game took a lot out of us. It was 10 innings. It was very emotional. and it was tough to bounce back. And when your bats are quiet, it's hard. You know what I mean? And we did get up 1-0. We hit the ball pretty good mostly. I think we only struck out 3 times. Yeah. A lot of balls, weak contact right at people, and it wasn't our day in the final as far as our lineup and scoring runs.
Yeah, it's one game, right? I mean, you could play a series, right?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
It's single elimination is hard business.
Yeah, because it's like all these games play very differently. So like you had played Amity early on.
Round 1 against Hamden, we could have got 7-5. I mean, they got the tying runs on base. I mean. And then you got to, it's tough.
Yeah,
to win 5. It's a big mountain.
Yeah, and you're funny. You're talking that because I was listening to, I think it was the St. John's basketball coach. Forget, he's a very famous guy.
Yeah.
Anyway,
Patino,
right?
Yeah.
So he was saying, they were asking about the NCAA. He said, listen, we can win the championship, or we could lose the first game.
Exactly. Everybody's got a team. Everybody's trying to beat you.
Absolutely. All right, so now let's talk about this season. What are the expectations? How are you going into this season? What do you see this playing out?
Before I get to the season, I just want to congratulate the basketball team. I've been sitting at that table for 30 years, and to see that first championship since 1963 was just awesome. I want to congratulate Dave and his staff. The staffs are really the unsung heroes. Coach Pick, Coach Sully, Coach Black, and Coach Corey. They do a great job. They're all on the same page. They're very loyal. Yeah. Those are the kids. Those are the guys that really, prosecute the mission of putting the team together, getting all the schemes together, and we have that same kind of staff. We have some older guys, some guys the kids really love and they can depend on every day, and Coach Buswell, Coach Avery, Coach Sikorsky. So that's one thing that I'm definitely going to take away from this winter was just what a pleasure it was watching that team and those assistant coaches, work for Dave and prosecute Dave's mission and the program's mission of playing at the highest level and playing for championships.
Yeah,
that's exactly where we're at, and we've been for a while.
It was impressive just to watch that everything go down.
And I'm there for all 3 levels, so I see the freshmen, the J. These are all great guys, and Dave's got a great staff there.
It is good to watch all the levels, right? Because you kind of see the kids grow, right? I mean, we watch a lot of the.
We put a lot of emphasis on our lower levels because if they're losing to Greenwich, say, and freshmen and JV, they go into varsity, man, we lose this team. But if you constantly are beating, they go into the game and the expectations are different. Yeah, I mean, they're winning on those levels, and we win on those levels too, and that's important.
Yeah, one thing that's interesting to me, and I've heard this, and I don't know where I heard, is that college and high school, it's like you're always looking for someone to replace who you got.
Yeah.
Because that kid's with you at a very
small window.
Small window, right? So it's so important to do that.
So you'll see last year, I get a kid like Bruce, who was a freshman, and Landgraf, give him key at bats. So they're coming in this year as sophomores. To me, they're junior. They're already experienced.
Right.
It's important to keep the program fluid instead of having 10 seniors and boom, and now we're going to go 3-17 because we put all our marbles in this. Like you said before, we were talking outside. When kids are ready to play on the varsity level, you have to get them in, especially baseball, because the senior year, it doesn't matter. You're already deciding where you're going. You're going to college in 2 months, so you have to get it done in those 3 years, especially if you want to play at the next level. So
yeah, and to fill in the audience, what we're talking about is that, I was telling Coach that before we started doing PrepZone, I always looked at players: are they seniors, are they freshmen, and JV, and what I found is that all the successful programs, they look at the kids as just an athlete, not so much as their grade. Are they ready to play? If they're ready at the JV level, then that's what, as the freshman, they are. And they might be a senior and not be ready to play.
Yeah.
Can you expand on that a little bit?
Yeah, because you're doing the kid a disservice because some kids come in and they're ready to go and some kids aren't. So, every kid's different. Like you said, when they're ready to play, we'll put them on the field because, you're actually getting them ready for the following year too.
Yeah.
Now when I put Cole out in center field or bring in Bruce to pitch, they've already done it. It's like they're only sophomores, but it feels like they're juniors or seniors. And that keeps the program fluid.
Yeah.
Because, we'll graduate a bunch of guys this year again, and then we'll have guys. Oh man, they got Bruce back, and this guy and that guy. Yeah, it keeps it going.
And it's so good because at the end of the day, it's like, and I know that, listen, we all know it, but like nobody's trying to lose games.
No.
You're trying to win the game. So
exactly.
you're putting the team and your players in the best position you can win.
And we're not putting a sophomore and freshman in just to keep the parents happy.
No.
We're doing it for the program.
Yeah.
And it is what it is.
Is what it is.
The
All
kid's
right.
ready to play, and he's going to help me win that day. He's a left-handed bat, whatever it is. And if he's not going to play, then I need to get him down to JV. I mean, they have to play,
Right.
when they're young.
And I agree. And that's a big point because it's like, okay, so I just want to be part of the varsity squad, but if I'm not playing, I'm setting back. The guys who are at JV and they're pitching and hitting every day, they're growing.
Yeah.
So it's like wherever you are, you want to play.
Yep.
Because that's the key.
It's important to get them their at-bats and their reps in the field.
Yeah. All right. So, but thanks so much. It was so great that you brought that up because I think the basketball team was really, it was such a great season.
Yeah.
It was fun to be around. We were around a lot. But let's, again, shift gears to your season. What are your expectations for this year? How are the team looking? Fill us in on that a little bit.
Well, this is definitely a different team than last year, even though it's a lot of the same guys. Last year, we had guys that we felt were very talented, but they were going through it for the first time. This is going to be a much different. It's going to be a much more mature team. Last year, we were just trying to stay afloat and then make our move late, which is exactly what we did. Remember, I kept telling you, we have a high ceiling, but to me, that means we're not there yet.
Right.
This year's a little different. We want to get off to a fast start. We want to have a little, really, take advantage of the experience that we have and our pitching depth and, be a little bit of a kind of team. But also, you have to stay healthy. You have to do some things to get to that end point, which is where we want to get. But, the difference is last year, we didn't really care about the fast start. We want to give kids opportunities and see exactly who can do what. Take a couple losses, not a big deal. This team is a little different, a little more mature, and it's ready to go. And,
when you talk about that fast start and what you got going on in your schedule early, and I asked this question, I know it's a tough question. It's like, are you going to, are you more of a hitting team or pitching team? But how do you see, what is your strengths for this season?
Well, our pitching is going to be as good as we've had here. We're going to be very deep. We have Kai back. We have Alex Oppenheimer. We have Mason Tobias. These are all kids that are pitching in college. Ben Kukier. We have a couple sophomores that can throw it. So we're as long as we stay healthy, the pitching depth is going to be great. One thing we want to improve on is the lineup. We hit under 300 as a team, which is not something we usually do. We want to get that up. We want to score more runs. So now we're winning games 5-2. Or 7-2, and we're able to get a pitcher out in the fourth or fifth inning, as opposed to being 2-2, and we're grinding, and we have to create some things. And so I think we'll be a little stronger at the plate, which will, really make us exciting to watch because now we're a two-way team.
Yeah, and I think last year one game that sticks to mind, you're talking offensively, was that Ward game that you actually lost, but you came back.
Yes.
Remember that game at home? That was a game that I think...
And we actually out-hit them, 10-6. The lineup actually woke up late, and that was a good sign.
Because from that point on, it seemed like you really started hitting the ball.
You could tell when you were interviewing after the game. Like I wasn't upset or anything.
No.
I was like, that's what I wanted to see.
Yeah.
Number one, we're going to come back. And number two, we can string together some hits and get some get some traffic on the bases.
Yeah.
We were able to do that.
And it's like, I always feel like sometimes, the people who are, the crowd and the fans take the losses a lot harder than the people who are actually in the field and watch it, right? Because it's like, you can kind of see from a different level.
Yeah.
But I thought that team was, from that point on, the team really gelled. And I think that's what from your saying, what we're going to see this year a lot.
Yeah, we're going to see, you're going to see some real good pitching. You're going to see good defense, kids who are experienced, who've been in a lot of different situations. And, we're excited to put it together and see where we can go.
And let's talk a little bit about your captains this year. So you have, could you run through the captains one more time for me?
Cooper Brundage, an outfielder. Alex Oppenheimer, who's a pitcher and a shortstop. We have Kai, who's actually, you're going to see him at the plate a little bit. They're very strong. He didn't hit so much last year because he got hit on the wrist. In a regular season game, he was a great pitcher. He's going to Penn.
It was the Amity game he got hurt, right?
Yeah, it was the Amity game.
Yeah.
And we have Jake Goldshore behind the plate. He's going to Trinity and kind of the leader on defense, and he'll make sure everything's the way we want it out there. So we have 4 good captains. We have other great seniors. So we'll get some leadership out of the junior class too. Guys like Jules and Mason and guys who played a lot. Ben Kukier and Noah and we have a lot of kids who are coming back who've had a little taste. Yeah,
it should be a really good ball club, good year. So when you look at the schedule right now, are you thinking it's going to be tough for beginning and how are you looking this season to go?
Well, we don't.
You don't look at it that far ahead. I know you don't.
But our out of league schedule is like they're all tough teams. We're playing Notre Dame, West Haven. We have Glastonbury coming in. We're playing Ward and Greenwich out of league. So it's that's going to be tough. Once the league starts, there's really, everybody's got a team, everybody's decent, so there's really no, we can go up there and that's going to be an easy win. The schedule's, everybody's got a pretty good team. Everybody's going to be able to, if you have an ace, it's going to put you, in a tight game. So
it always depends if you play them in the first round. Because if you're playing first round in the FCAC, you get their ace. You play in the second game, then you don't get their ace.
No question. You want to. That's the importance of the regular season. It's all for seeding.
Right.
So, we think we've created a great home field at our place, and we want to play as many games as we can there. We were, I think, 4-0 last year in elimination playoff games at home. We won 1 in the FCAC and 3 in the States. So it's tough for a team to get off that bus and play us and say, we got to beat Staples today. Because we have a little bit, been in the state championship 5 out of the last 8 years. We won a lot of things. So
I think people underestimate the advantage of playing at home.
Oh, yeah.
You don't have to travel. You don't have to get on the bus, grab all your gear.
It's huge.
It's
but
huge.
with that said, you also have to embrace going on the road.
Right.
Because you're not winning a championship in Westport. You're winning in Stanford, or you're going to Middletown, or wherever it's going to be. So you have to embrace, when you're on the road, you got to tell the team, hey, we got to be road warriors. But make it very hard for teams to come in and beat you.
Yeah, Cubetta is great, right? I mean, that's such a place. It's such a place, front place play.
A lot of history there.
Yeah, so it's a lot of fun. So as we go into the season, what is your ultimate goal for this year?
I just want these kids to come together and gel. Great team chemistry, and go as far as we can go. I think they understand the assignment. They've been working real hard, and they expect to do great things, and we put together a great schedule. So there's going to be a lot of great games. We don't look at them as games. We look at them as events. And when I first got here, I always tell the story. In 2005, we had only one dugout, this and that. And when there's a baseball game going on, people would just keep walking right by. Now we get 5. We get big crowds, and it's fun. And there's a lot of eyes on our program, and we love it. And like I said, we really embrace the high expectations. So.
Well, pressure's a privilege.
Yes, it is.
Right.
The kids don't back away from it, or they want it. They want to be in the big games, and they want to look up there and see people, and baseball's important. Listen, this is the national pastime, and we have a great lacrosse program. We have great other programs, and people are like, "How do you keep getting kids?" I'm like, because the kids I have now, they watch the kids below them in the state championship or winning Gatorade Player, whatever it is. So there's. That's when you hook the kids, when they're 5, 6, 7 years old. Not when they're 14. Okay, I want to play baseball. A lot goes into it before then. Yeah. So, I guess my point too about playing in the CIAC, there's a lot of kids in other sports getting pulled to go to private schools. Okay, because more competition, football, whatever it is, what other sports. CIAC, we've got kids getting drafted. We have kids pitching in the World Series. Yeah. You have kids playing colleges. Division I kids everywhere. So you don't need to go to the private school. You know what I mean? Everything you have is right here, at Staples, at Darien, at Grant, wherever it is. So for baseball, as far as I can speak for baseball, you're going to see very high level. You'll hear, this sport's down. You won't hear that in baseball. You're going to see, same with lacrosse. You're going to see kids going to North Carolina. You're going to see some big-time kids. And that's what makes it great.
I mean, the competition is there. And I always feel like, obviously, go somewhere, maybe you do things more, but if you're good, people are gonna. I mean, like we talked about when Heroes here, you'd get scouts.
He
from
did the opposite. Yeah. He started at a private school. And he was pitching in front of 10 people, throwing 3 innings and coming out. Now all of a sudden, it's important. It's intense, and that got him ready for where he is now. So.
Yeah. Listen, I won't mention names, but I will say this: we had some athletes who left Staples, and I've seen them to do that. And I keep telling them, hey, do the right thing, come home, jokingly, right?
Yeah.
And I've off the record had a conversation with one, and I said, what's the main difference? I said, well, there's nobody watching.
Yeah.
You go to the gym and it's an empty gym, or you go to the field and there's nobody there. So and they said, I miss that importance of what it is. Like anytime you step on the diamond for Staples, you got wearing the yes, or the basketball team, you look at everything we had, people show up. Yeah. People care.
It's just not a game. Like the kids know before, okay, we're second in the FCAC. We need the tie. This is important tonight, as opposed to, okay, we got another game at the schedule, and we'll just play and see what happens. They know what's on the line, and it teaches them to compete and to get their spot, and it's important.
Well, and I also think that I played football in high school and all that, and right now they don't realize that it's probably the best time of their life.
Oh, the best.
Right.
I can go on the story. I can't tell you, kids in college programs, and they say, Coach, it's more of a job now. There was nothing like playing for Staples.
Yeah.
Kids who have played at the very highest levels, Big East, wherever, and that's what they'll tell you. So it becomes a job a little bit.
Yeah, well, I think now it's so like I almost feel like it because these kids at some level they all know the other people, the kids from the other towns, right? I mean, it's like
you're
I can
playing
tell.
for your town and the rivalries of
Your friends.
these towns, Norwalk, Fairfield, they're all your border, and it's unbelievable. So
Yeah, it's like
you're not getting on a bus and going to New Hampshire and playing some team. You know what I mean? There's that real. I want to do good today because I went to camp with that kid or whatever it is.
right. It's the banter that we see these kids online that that faster on the field, but it's all good and fun. It's fun. You won that competition.
No question.
You won that. So we talked about your pitching, your hitting, and all that, the goals. But as you look at this season and everybody who got, give us what do you think is going to be the key for the team to be successful this year?
I think what I talked about is a little bit is the lineup. Our team batting average I think was 296 last year. We need to be at 315 or higher, so we need to swing the bats a little better. I feel real good where our defense and our pitching is going to be, and the depth of the program. And of course staying healthy. That's there's look at the basketball season. 3 of the best players in the league. One of our kids, Trumbull and Stanford, were out for the whole season. So, Ward lost one of their scholarship pitchers is not there anymore because of an injury. So it can happen. So you got it's got to be like that perfect ride. In the Kentucky Derby, everything has to go right for you to get to where you want to get, and that's what we're hoping for.
Yeah,
anything could stumble.
And that's what I think harder for people to understand is that there's so many variables that you can't control.
Oh, no question. Team chemistry, injuries, illness. There's all these viruses going around. All of a sudden, somebody gets mono. They're out for 3 weeks. So it's all those things have to just work out.
But from what I see, it looks like you have a team that's deep enough to where you can probably overcome. Last year you lost Kai for a few minutes, but you guys were good enough with that.
Yep, and that's the key. That's the key to being, the kind of program we have is, we can overcome, some injuries, obviously. So.
And you talk
great kids.
Yeah, and you talk program. I saw this year. I think you guys were doing some camps with the young kids. How is that still going with the talent? Great, engaging the talents. Everything's still like really good.
Yeah, that's great. We have a couple Little League camps. We work with the with some of the older kids too, and it works out great for us.
Yeah, it's so important, right? Because these kids, and I think we see it more like kind of basketball. The kids come, they play at halftime and all that. But you kind of see that how they look up these players.
Yeah, we get as many hats out there. You'll see little kids with S hats, and we'll have a Little League clinic, and we'll give out a couple jerseys to kids who are really hustling, and it's fun, all fun.
It is so much fun, and I enjoy it so much because being a part of as you're covering them. You kind of get to know them.
Yeah.
Right? And my dad used to always say it's like so, and it's the wrong words to hate, but it's hard to hate up front, which means like when you get to know the team and the players, you kind of feel a little better about everything that's going on.
Oh, it's great. I mean, you see Dylan at all the games, right?
Yeah.
Dylan Curran.
Yeah, Dylan.
The first time I met him was at one of those Little League clinics. He was running around like in 3rd grade, and he was going to be seen, and he was great, and we've had a great relationship since. So.
And he always shows up like with so much energy.
Oh yeah,
right. And he, like I see the basketball, he shows up.
He walks down those stairs,
and
everybody's like, "Okay, business time." It's great.
I know, and that's what it is. It's the super fans, people that. I mean, we have Laura too as well. There's always a lot of the games.
Great.
Yeah. And all these people that make the I think Staples and the Record such a special place to be a part of.
There's people in town. It's kind of why you move into a college town when you retire, right? Because you can go to the basketball games, you can go to the arts. There's people in town that go to basketball games. They don't have any kids, right? They're just going to see a good high school basketball game or baseball game, or they heard, hey, we have a kid that's hero. I want to go watch him pitch. So that's what makes it fun.
Yeah, I think I was at the gym that day, and the gentleman walked in. He goes, "Hey, where am I supposed to sit? Where does Staples sit?" I could tell he had never really been there, so I kind of guided him through it. He goes, "I just heard this team this year was really good this year. I came check it out." It just
I guarantee that guy will be back next year.
Yeah,
he
right.
probably had fun.
Yeah, he came out. He comes. I know. I had some friends from Fairfield that came over to a game. They're like, "I can't believe this is like a high school game." I'm like, "Yeah, it's just happening right here. Like we have all this great thing." And it's part of it. Talk about how all the investments you guys have made into the diamond and everything that the facilities that have been so great.
A huge upgrade. I want to thank Stacy Curran for helping us, redo the patio up there, and it's really a great place to play. The sight lines are unbelievable. We have 2 nice dugouts, but the key there is kind of like we try to design it after like one of the Cape Cod teams, where you can actually move up and down. Wherever you are, you can find a good spot to watch the game. Where you go to some of these games and you're like looking this way and there's no room and terrible places to watch a game. Can't get out of the sun. There's not really a bad spot at our field. So it's really a fun little event.
Yeah, and I always feel like the hill's a little intimidating too. Yeah. Right? Because the crowd is up there and you're down there. You feel like you're in a pit. You're like under this, magnifying glass. Everybody's looking down on you.
It's
and that's part of it, right?
It's all part of it.
Yeah, because it's like, well, we're used to doing it. Someone, like you said, they get out the bus, they look this around. I've never seen this. What is going on here?
Yeah.
It can be an intimidating place.
They look at, they go on the patio and they look at all the, the championships are up there and the Gatorade Players of the Year. And, they see there's a little history here. Now, we're going to have to do something today to beat this team.
You talk about intimidation, so I'll share. I don't know if you've seen this. So I remember, when the comeback from the Red Sox and the Yankees, not to get into that, but I remember Johnny Damon saying that when they go to Yankee Stadium and they're warming up, what the Yankee does is they on the screen, as they're doing bad at practice, it's the whole history.
Yeah.
So the team's doing bad in practice and they're showing them getting beat by the team. Yeah. So they decided that game, we're not going to even go there. We're going to stay in the locker room because we don't want to see that. It's intimidation.
Yeah, no question.
Yeah.
No question. You try to do whatever you can to create that home field.
Yeah.
If you're not winning games at most of your games at home, it's going to be a long season. So you have to make it, a place where you're comfortable and you feel like you're going to win.
Now, I want to ask you this, and we didn't talk about this, so I'm kind of bringing it up. Were you the manager when Ben Kasparas was here?
Yeah.
You are. So how did that feel to watch him pitch in the World Series?
It was unbelievable. It was so much fun. Ben took no shortcuts. Went from North Carolina to UConn to made it right through all the college ranks. All the minor league, from single A to triple A, and is with the Dodgers now. It's all hard work, and it's credit to him.
Yeah, it was pretty cool to see that.
Yeah, real cool.
It was really cool. I remember, because a lot of the people were in it and people were talking about it. And I'm like, that was the first thought that came to mind. So we all, and I think Hero's on that path too. I think is he the triple A this year or double A?
He's in single A.
Single A, okay.
I just saw a list where he's their number 2 pitching prospect in the whole minor leagues. So
wow.
He's 20. They're gonna bring him along slow. They have a big investment in him.
Well, that's the thing. Baseball takes so much longer than other sports, doesn't it?
Yeah.
It's not like basketball. The kids can play 1 year in college and they're ready.
No.
It's so different in baseball. Yep. What is so different about that sport?
They want to make sure that you're built to last. There's so many guys with talent, but if you have a catastrophic shoulder or elbow injury or whatever, or you're a speed guy, but you blow out your knee, you're never gonna get there. Where the NBA, you come out of college and boom, you're on a roster and you're making millions. Baseball, they make you get through all those levels, and then if you get through there, you're there. It's to be available. Availability is everything. Everybody's like, oh, Derek Jeter was, he was just a compiler, this, that. He was there. He never got hurt. He was there. So that's what the minor leagues prepared. They're all talented. Right. But, are you playing? Are you playing 20 games a year? Are you always shut down? Are you a guy that, okay, he's healthy, he's good to go. He can get through 162 games. So they make it hard, man. It's not hard, and you're wasting like some years of earnings and doing other stuff. Sometimes you could be 25, 26, and then all of a sudden you've never made it, and you've been making $2,000 a month. So it's hard.
It is. I think it's the hardest thing, and it's like you talk about longevity. I always think about. So my son and I always have this argument about football and quarterback.
Yeah.
And I said, and Eli's a place in my heart because he always played.
Always played.
It didn't matter what happened. He was always there.
Yeah. He was there.
So it's like there's something to be said about that, what you just said, and then that's part of building the roster and being, because it's like
availability is everything. You don't want to be that guy. Man, if he ever played, like great running back or whatever, who played 1 year and broke all these records, but that was it. It happens. Yeah,
it like you said earlier. It's like everything has to work almost perfectly for the season and for your career to be what everybody thinks you're going to do.
Got to be in the right system, the right team. Everything's got to go right.
Yeah, and I think you guys have done a really good job with the baseball program.
Yeah.
It's been successful. I think everybody cares about it, and we're going to be there covering it. And as a final word here for the season, what do you want to say, to fans, families, and everybody as we get the season going here?
I would say come out to the game. They're exciting. We have a lot of promotional stuff going on. We'll have our Little League Day. We'll have our cancer awareness. We'll have our senior day. And, for 2 hours, you can't beat it. You're going to see a lot of good baseball players on both sides. Like I said, there's Division I kids, Division II, Division III college kids, a lot of players in the league this year. So it's going to be a very high level of baseball. It should be exciting. Yeah. And the kids, Westport 9 will play hard. Trust me.
Yeah, it's gonna be a lot of fun. I also think you were mentioning as you were talking. I just remember special days. Like I remember being the Cancer Awareness Day, and I was talking to the doctor, and he said, these things that now that you guys do and some other programs do to bring all these things like Little League Day. You go back 10 years. This wasn't around.
Yeah,
people weren't talking about it, and now we take it for granted. But it's so important.
It's important for the kids, right? Because they're playing baseball in a beautiful town. There's kids their age who are, have 200 pounds of equipment and, in the military and, not everybody has it that good. So they need to get back and they want to get back. And they understand that. We make them understand that. We're actually doing a special day. We have actually a special uniform for the Minuteman Trophy down at Campo. We're doing a whole game based around the Battle of Campo down there and, we're going to make a little awareness of that. So that'll be another fun thing. We're doing an educational thing.
So walk me through that. So are you going to play at Campo?
So your kid is probably like every other kid, right?
Right.
They drive to the beach, they see that statue, and they keep going, but they're not really sure what it is. We're going to educate them on why that's there, what happened here. We're actually going to wear the Minuteman jersey because Staples used to be the Minuteman a long time ago with the statue on it. And we're going to, So from now on, when they drive by and go to the beach, they're going to say, there he is. That's
right.
Part of that battle that they had, a long time ago, and that's why that's there. So we're going to do a little educational piece because in the end, we're all teachers, and we're, we want them to, every year we try to do something different, get something, a little different, and that's what we're doing this year. So
that's great. And that game's going to be at home field. Or it's going to be there.
It'll be a home game.
It'll be a home game.
We'll
okay.
do a little photo shoot down at the
beach
trophy at the beach with the statue.
And who are you playing that game?
Not sure who we're playing yet, but we're still working that out. But we'll let you know.
Yeah,
it'll be fun.
That'll be fun.
We'll do a little press release and stuff.
Yeah, listen. When we started doing PrepZone, first thing I did is I wanted to find out where the Wreckers name came, and then I found out that the Minutemen, the whole thing with the Norwalk game, and the thing like that. Listen, they're both. I don't think you can go wrong.
That statue is something that everybody's driven by, and nobody's really probably thought two seconds about.
Yeah.
And my assistant coach is Brian Sikorsky, used to live right across that big hill, right across from that statue. So he's really really wanted to do something around that and educate, what went the big battle and all that stuff. So it's exciting.
It's cool, right? Because I think anytime you can bring some history to it, and when people get to know things, and anything you do different, I think it's always good.
Yeah,
especially in the season,
And it takes a little pressure off the kids. So now we're doing something. I'm always thinking about the Southington game or the Amity game or the Ward game. We're having fun. We're going to stop and smell the roses a little bit as we go through the gauntlet here.
Yeah, it's like one of my favorite lines, of TV shows and things. I watched a lot of them. Was that it was from The Office. At the end, the guy said, "I wish there was a way to know that I was in the good old days before leaving them."
Exactly.
Right. So that's what we're trying to create for the kids.
Yep. And we get the pizza truck there for Little League Day and Senior Day. We do all kinds of fun stuff. So
yeah. No, it'll be great. Listen, it was great having you. Before you go, I want to ask a couple of things. So last time you were on, you talked about your dog.
Yep.
Still going on strong?
Murph's still there, yep. He's my guy. See, his spot is Sasco. He loves Sasco Beach. So, I got to get him there a couple more times before April 1st when he's not allowed there anymore. But
now, I know you don't have a lot of time, but any cool series you're into right now? Are you a big series TV guy or you don't have time for that?
I do watch a little stuff. The last thing I watched was on Netflix, was a docuseries on the Madoff case.
Oh, I saw that too.
Yeah, and that's the last thing. I'm trying to, I liked all the big ones on Netflix,
We get all the same, we all kind of all watch the same thing. You see the top 10? I'm going to go with the top 10, right?
Exactly.
That's what I do.
Narco, what was the one about Missouri?
Ozarks.
I loved Ozarks. It got so crazy at the end. Now they're all like that. They start normal and then everybody turns, it gets crazy.
Now, my favorite line from Ozark is when, I don't know if you remember the beginning, the kid says, "Is your cartel going to get this?" And he says, "It's not my cartel. I don't have a cartel." He's trying to tell these kids it's your cartel.
Yeah.
I mean, that stuff, so because it's kind of like you said, you get your mind off a lot of stuff.
Exactly.
It does. Like, I think one that I didn't get much, but I really enjoyed is, did you see Kaleidoscope at all?
No, I did not see that.
So that was a show that what they did is that, so the episodes don't have an order, they have colors.
Yeah.
So when you watch them in different colors or like different orders, it turns out differently.
Oh, okay.
So it's very
unbelievable.
I know. I've watched it 3 times in 3 different combinations, and then the ends are all different.
Yeah.
Remember, like when I was years ago in high school, they used to have these books where you chose your finish.
Yeah.
Remember that?
Yeah,
like like you choose. That's what kind of how that show is.
Wow.
So it's like it's got again the episodes like you can watch in the colors they came out, and the next thing you just change one, and then it changes the ending.
Wow.
And then you change another one, and change it's pretty
creativity. On some of these shows is unbelievable.
Yeah, and I don't think you went anywhere because people don't want to invest time in anything. Not we're like society that's like, whoa, give me the immediate result of everything.
Yeah.
Give me the cliff notes, right? That's what everybody wants, the cliff notes of everything.
I mean, I actually just watched Conclave the other night. We rented it, and that had a twist at the end too. So
we love that stuff.
Yeah, they're artists,
It's great. It's great
stuff.
I mean, I love it. It's a lot of the stuff. I mean, I think we live in a very good era where there's just so much information and things available.
Yeah.
And if you use it the right way.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
Right. I mean, think about the stats and things that we do for these teams and these kids. And we were talking about before how we're just magnifying everything that we do.
Even like the 30 for 30s, it brings you back to the 70s and 80s. Like, oh yeah, I remember that team. It's great.
And that's the best thing I enjoy, like when anybody comes out with stuff that I lived through, but I didn't really live through because when I watch it back, I'm like, man, I don't remember any of this stuff.
Exactly. I didn't know Game 4 went into double overtime, or I didn't know Ali was knocked down in the second round and got back up, stuff like that.
Oh, it's almost like watching The Last Dance when they put out for the basketball. Did you watch that one? So it's like, I mean, I lived through all of that, but I mean, you don't know.
Our eyes were glued for every episode.
Right.
We couldn't wait for next Sunday night,
I think it was the last thing that I watched as it came out.
Yeah.
Now I have no tolerance for anything. I wait until it streams.
And then get it later.
But that one I remember watching. I remember, we'd sit at home and waiting for that
Sopranos,
9 o'clock.
Stuff like that every Sunday night.
Now, I try to explain, because I'm a huge Sopranos guy, so I try to explain to my son how Sopranos was when it came out. Yeah. And again, you and I were talking about Mike and the Mad Dog before, and I remember on Monday they would basically talk about the episode.
Yeah.
Right?
Oh, that was the first thing.
Right.
Do you believe that last night?
I know. Yeah. It's like, it was so funny. And I mean, sometimes you miss that era.
Boardwalk Empire after that.
I loved it.
But, people were kind of like, a little, Sopranos was a lot.
It was a lot.
Break.
Now, Boardwalk Empire.
I love that Sunday night,
I got into Boardwalk Empire a lot too.
Yeah,
I enjoyed it.
What's his name as the lead there?
Steve Buscemi.
Tremendous.
Yeah, he's
Buscemi.
And he was on Sopranos too. He was the guy, the limping. He was in there too. He's always, and he's in all the Adam Sandler movies with. He's like, do you watch Grown Ups at all?
No.
So he's a goofy character in Grown Ups. He's always getting hurt and things like that. So
he's got a great story. He was a fireman and became an actor. It's unbelievable.
Yeah, I mean, all these things. Again, it's so much fun when you dig deep into all that stuff and you find out all these intricacies about people because. At the end of the day, we're all just, out here trying to make a living, right?
Control the people underneath them,
That's right. It's a lot of fun. But yeah, those shows were like kind of, again, explaining how, trying to explain to my family, like, we didn't have like Netflix.
No.
We didn't have.
We had to watch it on the big box.
Yeah, it's like, and I think I think Cablevision at the time had this thing where like they only saved 5 episodes.
Yeah.
So like you couldn't miss a lot of them. You had to just stay on that stream thing. It's a lot of fun. But like I said, I think we're.
DVR was kind of a pain. Now you could just go back on your phone and watch any episode you want,
And like with, some things like YouTube TV, like things that automatically recorded for you, it's like you don't even need to worry about anything. You don't miss anything.
Concerts, you watch the Eagles. It's unbelievable.
Well, even think about your high school games. Like, we now can just go back and watch anything.
Yep. Oh, yeah. Great.
So, like for me, like sometimes I'm keeping stats. Like if the game gets tied, like towards the last 2 innings, I'll forget my stats and I'll just focus on the game, and then I can go back and watch those last 2 innings and kind of
happened in the 5th inning. Let's see, was it whatever it was?
It's so information is so rarely available. It's so great. I mean, you guys do.
That's my point with the assistant coaches. Like they're so vital in. The data mining and the film watching, and people don't even know who these guys are. They know Goldshore, they know me, whatever. But these guys are selfless, and they're very loyal guys, and they're really the heroes. They love the sport, they love the kids, and they're doing a lot of that stuff. I'm getting texts at 11, midnight. Hey, I just noticed that when they bring this kid in, they're stealing first pitch, or and those are the guys that and you see those guys around. Like,
yeah. I mean, I have a lot of because I try to talk to them because, like you said, before the games, you guys like head coaches, there's just so much going on.
Oh, so much.
And I realized that you're not like the coaches. It's like the X's and O's. You do it all the time, but there's so much bigger because the program's so big.
Yep.
But the guys
8 eyes are better than 2.
Yeah.
And these guys are all smart guys. They've all played. They've all won their championships. They're old hands, and they're going to put the kids in the best position. And they love the kids. They love the sport. Those guys are hard to find, man. If you have loyal ones, it's big.
And and like you said, it's a lot of times because I'll never forget. You talked about back watching things. When HBO came out with the Hard Knocks.
Yeah.
I'll never forget. I think the first ones I watched was I think it was the Bengals, and it was Marvin Lewis.
Yes,
no, it was the coach, right?
Head coach.
And he talked about, I always wanted to be a head coach. And then, like when I got here, he goes, my Mondays things is talking about hotels and buses.
Yep.
I'm never on the field.
And that's the stuff we're doing. I'm doing forms and eligibility and this and that. And the coaches come beginning of practice and they leave at the end, and they can just coach.
Right.
And you need guys who are that focused, because we get pulled in a lot of directions.
Yeah.
So.
He's like, he goes, I didn't know I was going to be responsible for picking a hotel.
He was the hottest defensive coordinator, right? Marvin Lewis. Everybody wanted him, and now you're the head coach.
You're like,
it changes.
It changes because you're running you're not running a team, you're running a program.
Yeah, you're running the whole thing.
You're running the whole thing.
You have to care about all three levels. Everybody's got to be on the right page.
Yeah.
You
It's
calls on something happened on the freshman ball. I mean, it's just, anything can happen.
Yeah.
So you got to be,
it's almost like,
everything together.
Anytime you do any type of leadership, there's just so much that goes on. It's just not the little, it's not the, like you said, the 2 hours you see on the field. There's just so much. You're married to it almost.
Yeah, married. For 3 months, I'll see my assistants will be my confidants. You know what I mean? My wife and kids are like, and we really want to be player-driven team. So we put a lot of responsibility on our seniors and our captains. And, we think if you're coach-driven, you could be real good. But if you're player-driven, you can go right to the top because there's 100% buy-in. And I think we have that kind of team this year. So we're excited about it.
It's going to be great. Can't wait for it. Coach, well, best of luck this season.
You got it.
And we'll see you guys very soon. Thank you
very much. Appreciate it. Thanks.